Let's go to the Oscars, Tracy. What time are you picking me up?
Uh-oh, Leslie, someone did not read the memo. The Oscars are not tonight. They're on March 27th. This morning, we just announced the nominees.
Oh, Beverly Leslie. Just like that, the 2022 Oscar nominations are in. Here's a look at some of the biggest categories. For actor in a leading role, Javier Bardem, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield, Will Smith. He's actually returning to the Oscars for the first time in 15 years. This is his third nomination. Also on top of that, the one and only Denzel Washington. Denzel is the most nominated black actor of all time. He has already won twice. Switching gears to the ladies. Actress in a leading role, Jessica Chastain, Olivia Colman, Penelope Cruz, Nicole Kidman, and Kristen Stewart. You see their names in movies up there. And of course, for the big one, Best Picture, 10 to go through this year. Belfast, Don't Look Up, Drive My Car, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, Nightmare Alley, Power of the Dog, which leads with 12 nominations, followed by Dune, then Belfast, and of course, West Side Story, Spielberg's latest creation.
Very cool. And the time before COVID-19 and streaming a Best Picture Oscar nomination victory and a victory would boost a film's box office take by as much as $100 million.
That's crazy, right? Yeah. For some insight on the impact today's Academy Award nominations could have on films such as West Side Story and all the other frontrunners, we're joined now by Shawn Robbins from BoxOfficePro.com. Thanks for being with us, man. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
So the bump thing has been real in years past. We all know that in the age of COVID and streaming, the world is a different place than it normally is. But what do you think the real world impact of a nomination today really is?
You know, I think it still holds a lot of value. We're just in a position where we have to redefine that value as a film industry. And, you know, we're looking at another abnormal year when it comes to awards season. These are movies that typically draw an older audience, not to say that all of them are pulling from age 40 and up. They tend to spread across the board, especially if you have high profile casts involved. But we're still in the rebuild of the theatrical business. And on top of that, we have a lot of these films that have gone straight to streaming or already are on streaming after their theatrical release. So we're really watching how that continues to evolve this year, and it's still going to be probably next year an even more different story. It's hard to tell where this is going long term.
Absolutely. So can you give us a few examples of maybe some movies, some films that we've seen and they had an increase in ticket sales after an Oscar nomination?
Sure. You know, there's probably a longer list than I have time to go through, but just thinking recently, the last 5 or 10 years, Birdman was a great example, leading up to its not only nomination, but its win. The Revenant drew a lot of attention for Leonardo DiCaprio, especially when it was nominated right around the time it went into wide release, after it had already been in a limited release. And that's really the big story. Are films that came out maybe around Christmas time, the holidays, prior to awards season, they drew an audience, but it was mostly the art house crowds. And then those nominations came out in years past, and that's what sent them into wide release in 3,000 theaters. That's not really going to happen for many of these movies this year, except for maybe 1 or 2. And even then, the impact won't be quite what it was in years past.
Even so, there's something I think, you know, innate that people want to see. What's all the fuss about? What's all the buzz about, right? So and today's all about buzz and kind of selling yourself in the movie. So, but some of these films that have been nominated were released in a limited number of theaters, obviously COVID and all of that, and some only streaming because that's the way everything's going right now. So what are the chances that studio execs, the suits that run the joint, are kind of recalibrating release plans in light of that?
I think every studio head is smartly, they should be just considering what to do in the here and the now, and probably not assuming that it's the new template going forward. And that's been the case, especially last year when theaters weren't even reopened across the board like they are this year. But it's very hard to say because everybody's kind of going through this new blueprint all at the same time. Nobody has the answer. No studio has this figured out yet. Some of the quote-unquote biggest contenders in the last few months weren't really as big of a box office hit as many thought they would be. I'm looking at West Side Story in particular. That was kind of notable for not doing the kind of typical Steven Spielberg box office business. But now it's interesting to see, will these nominations give a movie like that a boost? Will it give studios enough confidence to maybe put it back in 2,000 or 3,000 theaters? It's a very dicey game, I think, to play right now, because we're getting into a period of the movie schedule when movies are actually going to start coming out again and audiences want to see new stuff. These windows are shortening, and that's going to hit awards films just as much as anything else.
Right. So if you had to pick one nominated film that might see a boost from today's nominations, which one would it be, do you think? And please say, don't look up. Because I'm not a fan of the movie. I'm not a fan.
There she goes.
Well, I won't say that one, since that is a Netflix movie. That was one of those, it's hard to say if it'll go back into any theaters.
Yeah.
I think Licorice Pizza is a great candidate. It's been in theaters for a few months, and it's been promoted as only being in theaters. And I think that's the kind of movie that could really pull from that quote-unquote classic pre-pandemic box office high of a nomination and bring in more of the mainstream audience, especially with the number of its nominations. It has a youthful appeal to it. That something like that really stands out to me, and maybe Belfast as well. It's also had a great run in its limited box office release.
Interesting.
Now, here, let me ask you this. What is your best advice for someone like me who literally sat here today on TV and was like, wow, I have not seen
Me too, though.
One, not one.
Don't look up.
I've heard a few of them. At least you saw one. I was like, I have heard a few of these. I've seen none. So, and listen, you can't watch everything, but, you know, what's your best advice to those of us who feel like we are brand new to these movies starting today, because now they're all in the headlines? How should we kind of navigate that and pick and choose what we actually spend 2 hours watching?
You know, for me, I guess the best advice I can give is what I would personally do. It's always maybe watch the trailers for each one, see which one stands out most. Sometimes it's an actor or actress. Maybe it's a director. Maybe it's a screenwriter that might have their name on the movie. Or just the genre itself. You know, if I see a trailer for The Power of the Dog, you know, if I like Westerns, if I like Benedict Cumberbatch, I'm going to really want to watch that one. And now you heard about that movie but hadn't given it a chance, I think are going to pay attention to something like that now that it's been nominated so much.
All right, Shawn Robbins from BoxOfficePro.com. Thanks for joining us again. We'll see you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, after